Sadness and outrage tonight after another school shooting in America.
Good afternoon, this is News 2, and we're following a breaking story today, a shooting at a high school in Littleton, Colorado.
There's word potentially multiple children have been killed. This happened at the Robb Elementary School in the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District.
2012 Colorado movie theater massacre.
7 bodies were discovered in Oklahoma.
2 mosques in Christchurch were targeted, the country's worst mass shooting ever.
Our story today revolves around a man named Richard Scott Baumhammers, who went on a killing spree motivated by his racist views. Baumhammers was born on May 17, 1965, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to his parents, Andres and Inez. Both of his parents fled from Latvia when the Soviet military invaded and occupied the country in 1940. His parents both became members of the University of Pittsburgh School of Dental Medicine and went on to open their own successful practice. Baumhammers also had an older sister, named Dana, who was born in 1963. Baumhammers attended Mount Lebanon High School, where he was on the football team. After graduating in 1983, he enrolled in Kent State University in Ohio, graduating from there in 1989. After this, Baumhammers began his education of the law, studying at Cumberland Law School in Alabama. During this time, he was described as a good student by his peers, as he was in the top third of his class. He graduated law school and continued his education, enrolling in a specialized 1-year program at the University of Pacific's McGeorge School of Law in Sacramento, California. Here, he received his master's in transnational business practice and specialized in both immigration law and international law. In 1993, Baumhammers traveled to Europe for vacation. When he returned, his father was shocked by his unusual emotional state. His father later recalled that Baumhammers was acting irrational upon his return home. Apparently, while he was in Finland, he became overwhelmingly paranoid about people following and harassing him. His paranoia continued after he returned to the United States. He claimed that he could no longer speak openly to his parents, suggesting that the FBI was monitoring the house. Baumhammers would often make his parents go down to the basement to talk with him, using a pen and notepad. His father also claims that Baumhammers once asked him and his mother to take him to meet Dr. Kevorkian, who was an Armenian-American pathologist. At the time, Dr. Kevorkian was public with his view that patients had the right to die by physician-assisted euthanasia. He claimed to have assisted at least 130 patients with their suicide. He went on to be convicted of second-degree murder of ALS patient Thomas Uke in 1999 and served 8 of his 10 to 25-year prison sentence. But back in the time of our story, Baumhammers wanted to see Dr. Kevorkian because he wanted to have an assisted suicide. Anyway, Baumhammers ended up admitting himself to Pittsburgh's Western Psychiatric Institute Hospital. There, he was diagnosed with delusional disorder by Dr. Kashavin. Over the next several years, Baumhammers would be seen by multiple psychiatrists and psychologists and was put on 16 different medications over the course of a few years. Baumhammers went back to live at home with his parents during this time. In 1997, Baumhammers traveled to Riga, Latvia. He gained citizenship there and lived in the country for a little while. His family was originally from Latvia, as stated before, and while he was there, he attempted to regain some of their belongings that were lost during the Soviet occupation. This was an unsuccessful attempt, though, since the cutoff date to make any claims was in 1996, the year before. People that socialized with Baumhammers during his time in Latvia said that they didn't notice any odd or violent behavior, only emphasizing that he mainly kept to himself. I also read that during his stay, Baumhammers was described to be attempting to pursue multiple business interests in Riga. I'm assuming none of those ventures panned out, because there was no other mention of it. In the fall of 1999, while visiting Paris, France, Baumhammers was arrested after hitting a 50-year-old woman. His defense was that he believed she was Jewish. Baumhammers was admitted to a Paris psych ward, but he was subsequently released. This remark is the first that I could find to suggest he had racist tendencies, but it most definitely wouldn't be the last. In the late 1990s, Baumhammers returned to his hometown of Pittsburgh to move back in with his parents. This move followed a series of emotional problems that Baumhammers had continued to face. Since 1993, he had been treated for mental illness. voluntarily admitting himself into a psychiatric ward at least twice. Signs of his struggling mental health went back as far as when he was 4 years old, according to his father. Baumhammers, unemployed at the time, reportedly developed a deep hatred for non-white immigrants, unsurprisingly becoming an extreme white supremacist in the process. He was the leader of a small anti-immigration political party called the Free Market Party, which, as far as I gathered, had no other members. I'll pick this topic back up later in the video. Fast forward to the year 2000, on April 27th, Baumhammers, now 34, purchased a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum revolver. Police believe that he had recently taken a formal firearms training course to develop his shooting accuracy. By April, his unstable emotional state still hadn't improved. Baumhammers was said to be on medications that were supposed to be helping with his delusions of being watched and followed, but he apparently was neglecting to take them. Tests performed after his arrest confirmed that he in fact had not taken his medication recently. The day after purchasing the revolver, Baumhammers would embark on a racially motivated killing spree. On April 28th, around 1:30 p.m., he calmly walked out of his parents' house to the home of his 63-year-old Jewish neighbor. Without hesitation, he shot her dead before setting her house on fire with a Molotov cocktail. His neighbor's name was Anita Gordon, and she was a friend of the family for over 31 years. The fire triggered an alarm and alerted first responders of the blaze. Police responded and found Anita, shot twice inside of her home. Her husband described her as an angel, also mentioning that the family had known the Baumhammers since the shooter was a child. Baumhammers then jumped into his car and drove down to the synagogue that Anita attended in Scott Township. His Jeep was filled with boxes of ammunition, additional Molotov cocktails, and about $4,000 in cash. Once he arrived at the synagogue, he vandalized the building by firing shots into the windows and spray painting 2 red swastikas onto the exterior walls. He also reportedly spray painted the word Jew on the building. Baumhammers didn't actually hit anyone during this shooting at the synagogue. The police were still at the scene of the first shooting when they got the call about Baumhammers' second shooting location. They quickly drove to the synagogue, but by the time they got there, Baumhammers was already gone. Baumhammers then made his way down to a local Indian grocery store, entering the building and firing upon a 31-year-old Indian man named Anil Thakur. Anil was killed while picking up groceries during his lunch hour. Baumhammers also shot at another Indian man, the 25-year-old store manager named Sandeep Patel. He was shot in the neck, an injury which would paralyze him from the neck down. Sadly, although Sandeep survived the attack initially, he died 7 years later due to complications from pneumonia that related to his injuries inflicted by Baumhammers. Kent Kretzler, a witness to this shooting, said that he was working in the building next door when he heard loud banging. "I thought they were pounding on the wall next door. I thought, what in the world are they doing over there?" Kretzler then watched Baumhammers as he calmly walked from the store to his car. He left as if pulling out after buying a bag of groceries. "There was nothing there to make you think he had done anything wrong," said Kretzler. Baumhammers then drove to Carnegie, Pennsylvania, to another synagogue, also firing shots through the windows. No one was injured or killed during this incident. About a half an hour later, he set his sights on Yafei Chinese cuisine. Baumhammers walked inside of the restaurant and fatally shot the 34-year-old manager, Ji Ye-sun, who was Chinese. He also killed one of the cooks, 27-year-old Theo Pham, who was of Vietnamese descent. His brother was also working in the restaurant at the time and ended up finding him as he lay dead on the floor. Both victims were shot and killed in front of eating customers. Baumhammers then drove to Center Township, to the C.S. Kim School of Karate. Here, he saw a 22-year-old African-American man named Jerry Lee, who was working out with a white friend named George Thomas. Baumhammers initially aimed the gun at George, but quickly changed his aim to Jerry, fatally shooting him in the chest. I sadly could not find much additional information on any of his victims' backgrounds. By this time, multiple police departments had gotten calls about each of the shootings. Since Baumhammers was keeping each incident short, and then driving some distance to the next one, the police were not able to keep up with him. Thankfully, due to a call from a witness to the latest shooting describing Baumhammers and his car, including the license plate, police were able to spot his vehicle as he crossed the Ohio River into Ambridge, Pennsylvania. About 2 hours after his spree began, Bombhammers was pulled over and arrested. He put up no fight and quickly surrendered as officers surrounded him. During a search of his car, authorities found boxes of ammunition, spent cartridge casings, more Molotov cocktails, and the can of red spray paint. Witnesses at each shooting remarked that Bombhammers was calm, unhurried, and collected during his attacks. They also claimed that he walked calmly and quietly back and forth from his vehicle into the various buildings where his victims were shot and killed. After his arrest, authorities questioned him for 5 hours. But according to them, the only words that Bombhammers spoke were to request a lawyer. Hearing of the spree, Bombhammer's older sister Dana said, quote, "This is an absolutely devastating thing for our family. It's the most awful thing that can happen to a family, and I feel terrible for the victims' families and for my own parents." Bombhammers was charged with 19 crimes, which included 5 counts of criminal homicide, 1 count of attempted homicide, and 8 counts of ethnic intimidation. Additional investigation uncovered that Bombhammers viewed himself as the leader of a far-right movement. In a search of his home, police uncovered a manifesto from the Free Market Party. This document, as well as a website that Bombhammers had put up in the year prior to the killings, demanded an end to Third World immigration. It also insisted on lower taxes, less foreign aid, and that an English-only policy be implemented for the nation's schools. Though he was strongly against immigration, apparently the manifesto demanded that American doors should be open to white Europeans looking to immigrate. So, obviously, Bombhammers was only against non-white people entering the country. Authorities also found a document in Bombhammer's home, speaking about the third way or third position political stance. It's unclear if this stance reflected Bombhammer's thinking, but essentially, it refers to a fairly new brand of extremism that rejects both capitalism and communism, instead suggesting neo-fascist political ideologies. Bombhammers was initially found to be mentally incompetent to stand trial, but after several months of treatment, it was determined that he was fit for trial on September 15, 2000. His trial started on May 9, 2001. Bombhammers did not try to dispute his role in the killings, but he did claim he was suffering from a mental break during the time. His defense attorney, William Defenderfer, did not try to deny the charges either. Quote, "This isn't a whodunit defense." He also said that he believed the police had a ton of evidence implicating his client. Defenderfer instead said, quote, "This is a mental infirmity defense." He also explained to jurors that Bombhammers has been struggling with delusions for upwards of 10 years. The prosecutor on the case, Edward Borkowski, said during the trial, quote, "Bombhammers started reading racist and anti-immigration literature in 1999 and saw himself becoming as well known as the Unabomber, Theodore Kaczynski, the Oklahoma City bomber, Timothy McVeigh, and Adolf Hitler." Retired Beaver County District Attorney Anthony Barash, who was the co-prosecutor alongside Borkowski, said that Bombhammers believed he was starting a war. Barash continued this statement, quote, "His motive, I think, was clear. This is the beginning of a race war. All of his targets were minority groups. Somehow in his head he thought he could trigger this racial war. It was white versus everybody else, and everybody against the whites and whites would prevail." Witnesses also attested that Bombhammers bragged about the murders, stating himself that they were racially motivated. Prosecutors were successfully able to dispute the claims that the killings were done while Bombhammers was in a delusional state, and he was convicted of all 19 charges. 2 days later, he was sentenced to death by the jury after they deliberated for only 20 minutes. His formal sentence, delivered on September 6, 2001, was death, plus 112 to 225 years in prison. Less than 9 years later, in early 2010, Governor Ed Rendell signed Bombhammer's execution warrant. Shortly after, Judge Jeffrey Manning granted him a stay of execution, following a notice of appeal filed by Bombhammer's new attorney, Caroline Roberto. "I somewhat loathe to grant it, but I think I have no choice," said Judge Manning. Bombhammers lost the appeal and remained incarcerated on death row at Green State Correctional Institute in Franklin Township. As of the time this video goes up, Bombhammers is still sitting on death row, awaiting execution. Racial attacks are some of the most aggravating to cover. I cannot stand the fact that some people feel the need to harm or kill people based on their race. It is absolutely despicable. I feel terrible for all of the victims' families. Their loved ones' deaths were completely and utterly unwarranted. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch or listen to this video. I sincerely appreciate all of the support. I also love reading your thoughts on the cases I cover, so please feel free to leave them down below. Just please remember to stay respectful. I'll see you guys next time.